To lay a tarp, this tarp is about 7 beds wide, and it, in theory, it reaches the entire length of our beds. So we buy silage tarps to fit the size that we want. So the ones we buy are 150 feet by either 20 or 25 or 32 feet, depending on how many beds we want to be able to cover. And yeah, so we have a windy site. Our farm is pretty windy. So we do need to take a lot of care to weight our tarps down. It's actually really useful if it rains, because we have these divots where our walking paths are and they fill with water, and that holds the tarp down really well. But until it rains, we need to have a whole bunch of sandbags. So we try to put sandbags about every 10 feet on the edges, and then we plop a bunch in the middle as well. So what we end up doing is roll the tarp out, and then stretch it out, and then start in one corner and kind of start sandbagging around the edges to the other opposite corner, and then plop a bunch in the middle, as I said. So yeah. I can do a 4-bed tarp by myself, no problem, as long as it's not too windy of a day. 8-bed tarp is pretty darn heavy, so it takes 2 people to kind of unroll it, and it's nice to have 2 people to stretch it out on either side. And it probably takes less than half an hour to get one put out, if your sandbags are already full and kind of right there. Yeah, it actually doesn't take very long. It's not, as I said, it's not the most pleasant job there is. It's kind of, tarps are kind of dirty and covered in like algae, and so you get kind of dirty. But sometimes that's a fun feeling, especially in the early spring. you want to get messy. We usually try to take our tarps off right before we plant, so that weeds don't get a chance to start growing before our plants do. And often what we're doing is we have this, 7 or 8 bed tarp, but we're only planting maybe 2 beds at a time. And so often what we end up doing is, what we do for this one, if we're going to try to plant this bed or 2, we would take all the sandbags off of the edge of the tarp that we're going to move. And then I pull the tarp, like if I'm doing this one and there's a puddle of water there, I pull the tarp out from under the water, so let the water soak into the ground. And so then I'm going along the whole length of the thing, kind of pulling the tarp out. And then I actually tuck it under where I want to remain tarped. I just tuck the stuff that we took off under that, so I'm kind of rolling it kind of underneath itself until we get to the end, and then we'll just roll it up. Yeah, it took me a while to figure out, trying to move that much water. Water is so heavy, and so trying to move that water doesn't make any sense, but you can move the tarp out from under the water. That's my way of thinking of it.